Angel Delight here, just want to clear a couple of things up. Don't shoot the messenger, but just to let you know, I can move at the speed of thought. And I don't really care what speed your car is going at. And we are definitely not protecting you from demons giving you punctures.
That was Kevin McFree. Kevin McFree is a YouTuber that makes really good YouTube videos about the Jehovah's Witnesses, or about how it is to grow up as a Jehovah's Witness. And there's some criticism about Watchtower. Watchtower is the company that owns the Jehovah's Witness religion. So Watchtower sued him, as many of you might know. But the good news is that we had media coverage about this today in Norway. So some apostates have been informing the journalist about this, and we got a news article in Norway about an obscure court case in the state of New York concerning most likely a person living in Britain. So that shows what we can do when we pull together. But this is an important case because freedom of speech is important, and Jehovah's Witnesses used to say that they were like on the barricades fighting for freedom of speech, but they're actually becoming the bad guys. I'm sad to say, because SLAPP lawsuits is that when a multi-billion corporation sues someone for something just to stifle his freedom of speech. That's a big problem, and that's why most countries, including the state of New York, have legislation to prevent SLAPP lawsuits. But it's still difficult for a person, an activist like Kevin McFree. So I'm thinking, what could we say about this? How can we support them? At first, if I were a Jehovah's Witness, would I be okay with this? That Watchtower spend big money, most likely, on an expensive law firm called Cohen, Leibovich, and Latman. I hope I pronounced that right. When I was a Jehovah's Witness, I donated a lot of money. But most likely, all the money I donated through my life as Jehovah's Witness is just a drop in the bucket compared to what these lawyers take. So, and secondly, why is Watchtower attacking him? And 3, is there something we can do to support him? Well, you can go to his channel and subscribe. I know it will encourage him, because YouTubers are vain. But no, seriously, it's fun. It's fun to see the people subscribe and like and stuff like that. But first, if you're a Jehovah's Witness watching this, or if you used to be like a Jehovah's Witness like me, would you be okay that they spend money on just putting down humor in general, just because he may? I can show you 2 clips. This is a clip about how the elders think about the guy a brother that bought a new car.
That young man is never going to get any privileges of service with that attitude.
Well, his car says it all. It shows he is still spiritually weak, because as we all know, it's quite selfish to buy a 2-door car. A spiritual man would have 4 doors.
If you've been a Jehovah's Witness, you can recognize this situation where the elders have opinions about how many doors your car have. And if you've never been a Jehovah's Witness and you want to know how a Jehovah's Witness meeting is, I can show you this clip.
We have a very practical Watchtower study today that can not only help us as individuals, but also as families. So without further ado, we ask Brother Dreary to read paragraphs 1 and 2.
Toilet activities are an important part of a Christian life. In this article, we will discuss what is the right length of toilet paper for Christians to use. Is replacing a toilet roll a conscience matter? And how to avoid materialism when purchasing toilet rolls.
Paragraphs 1 and 2. What will we discuss in this article? Sister Voluptuous, please.
Oh, bugger.
As the paragraph says, we need to avoid stumbling others when deciding whether to fold toilet paper or scrunch it into a ball.
Very good point. Thank you, sister. Right. Paragraph 3, please.
If you've never been a Jehovah's Witness, I can tell you this is how Jehovah's Witness meetings are You read from Watchtower, and then you repeat from Watchtower, and you read from Watchtower, and you repeat from Watchtower. And also it's fun with the young brother going with the microphone, because all of us young brothers, we had to do that when we were like 12 or 13. And then it was Sister Voluntius, and we had to go there, and we have to look at her, this area, because that's where we hold the microphone. And to be honest, I was wearing double briefs when I was 13, holding the microphone. So good memories. But really, is there any reason why Watchtower would spend your, and actually mine, our donated funds to fight this? This is just humor. And why would Watchtower attack him? I have two theories. First, I think they are afraid that this will appeal to children. For Watchtower, it's really important to keep children, because not so many people want to join the cult anymore. But as long as children don't get an education and they don't get to be with normal people, they are isolated. And a channel like this might break the isolation. That's one thing. The second thing is that I think the Watchtower's lawyers, I don't really respect Watchtower lawyers, because they quite often misrepresent things. And I think they think that we can try this on him, because we can misrepresent the situation and try to make it like Kevin McFree is making entertainment. He's using our copyright material for entertainment purposes only. So he's stealing from us. But I would say that even if this is entertaining, it is still criticism. It's still criticism, the religion, criticizing the governing body. Look at this clip about education.
Well, young man, I hope tonight's food at the proper time has put an end to your crazy, rebellious ideas of college.
I don't understand what the big deal is. It's just part of my school life.
How would you feel if Armageddon came while you were investing 4 years getting a degree in Satan's world?
So are you saying that if I started a project that would take 4 or 6 years that took me away from time spent in preaching, that would be showing a lack of faith?
Spot on, yes. There is no more important work that we could be doing so close to the end of the world.
Well, how come the governing body are planning a 6-year project to make their very own Hollywood studio, and that won't be finished until 2026?
What? No, that's different. Building property for Jehovah is sacred service.
I love Kevin McFree. I think he's making really good videos, and he also covered some stuff that I was a part of, like the London protest 2018. Look at this clip.
Jesus was there with a millstone and a strong message for those responsible for stumbling his little ones. In fact, there were so many amazing signs and banners, there just was not enough real estate to display them all. But there was no ignoring them.
So if you look at the clip, you can see my sign. This is my sign, and it's there. So if Watchtower's lawyers are watching this, maybe you can help me sue Kevin McFree for a copyright violation. If that's how reality works, I'm curious, because society works with people quoting each other. Like Donald Trump can quote me, and I can quote Biden, and Biden can quote, I don't know. Everyone is talking and quoting each other. So when a multi-billion organization sues someone to suppress his freedom of speech, that is a problem. And many countries have passed legislation to stop SLAPP lawsuit. But also, is it a Christian thing to do? Christians, that should be one of the mark of Christians, that they should be reasonable. A third thing on my chart here, how can we support Kevin McFree? Go to his channel and subscribe. He actually did that favor to me. I can show you this clip. When I started my channel, it was fun, and I had 149 subscribers, and then he posted this.
If you would like to see a very visual demonstration of how easy it is to get sheep-like people to follow you, head over to Goat-Like Personalities channel and see his hilarious and yet absolutely true video on this subject. And why are they subscribed to his channel?
I remember when Kevin posted this because I had 149 subscribers, and in 3 days it grew to 500. I felt like Lloyd Evans. So thank you, Kevin. But what can we do with this lawsuit thing if we want to help with something? I'm thinking about some things. First, you can inform the media. If the Norwegian media pick this up after us nagging a little, gently nagging, well, obviously this should be a thing for British media because I assume this person live in Britain. It should also be a case for American, because when multi-billion-dollar organizations use SLAPP lawsuits to stifle the freedom of expression, they should be named and shamed. It is a problem. SLAPP lawsuits. So that's for us that enjoy freedom of speech, we have to stand up for it. And then there's a guy called Malcolm Seymour that is the lawyer that's representing Kevin McFree. He's doing this pro bono. So thank you, Malcolm Seymour. You will be on my Christmas card list. If you don't know this, Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate Christmas. So I have to make a Christmas card list from scratch. And you're now number 3. What do you say? XJW silent no more?
Allowing me to come back.
Huh?
Thank you for allowing me to come back to the channel.
Yeah.
This lawsuit, it's a farce, and there's all kinds of other, shall we say, colorful language that I could use to describe it. But I'm so glad that there is a community that's speaking up against what Watchtower is doing here. I mean, these videos were inspirational for me on my own channel to create comedic content that just allows you to look at something that Watchtower presented to you and then kind of apply some critical thinking to it. I mean, that was probably one of the most important things that Kevin that he encourages in all of his videos is stop and think about this. Why ... Why ... And I think that's incredibly important. And if there's one thing that Watchtower can't stand, it's when people turn to them and go, hey, yeah, why are you doing that thing?
Yeah.
The one clip there about the media center, for example, like, I thought that why are they doing a 6-year project? That's different. Like, I got the same sort of thing.
That's different. So I never celebrated Christmas really like a worldly person. So I thought, should I send him a Christmas card? Because I think we should really send some kind of appreciation when they support freedom of speech. I don't know.
Buy him a cup of tea.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the pro bono lawyer.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about too. Buy him a cup of tea.
Well, he's on the wrong continent, so.
Oh, well, yeah.
I send him a picture. But if you live in America, why is this in the Norwegian news? It's a quite obscure lawsuit in the state of New York against the person that most likely live in Britain. And the Norwegian apostates, we're doing a good job, may I say, for myself. So I can show you this. This is, no, that was not it. This is it. So this is the article. And Stefan, you say Steve, how do you say your name?
It's
Stefan,
Stefan. Yeah.
Stefan. Can you read this in English?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
But now here's the thing. I want everybody to know that the translation that I got, I just ran the text of that article through Google Translate. So there may be some bits lost in translation, but we'll go over it. Do you want me to start reading it now?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, grain of salt on what you're about to hear if it sounds a little crazy, but The Jehovah's Witnesses' wild pursuit of humor. Kevin McFree creates Lego parodies of Jehovah's Witnesses' strict internal regulations. It is not well received by Watchtower, the religious community's top international leadership. So he calls himself Kevin McFree, and he is himself a Jehovah's Witness and probably lives in Britain. Exactly where and what his real name is, we do not know. McFree has found himself forced to take cover for the leadership of Jehovah's Witnesses, who use all means to hunt down the man who plays a little too hard with Lego for their liking. Now, okay, yeah, plays a little too hard.
He's playing too rough with the Legos, so we have to find him.
First it was the pillows, now it's the Lego.
Yeah.
Should we call this Lego Gate then?
Could be.
Now, for the second time, they have hired one of New York's largest law firms to get rid of the humor. For several years, McFree has let the closed religious community's strict internal justice leak out through play. Using the animated method, stop motion, he has constructed his own Lego city, Dubtown, where the inhabitants, in small film clips, parody the rules of Jehovah's Witnesses. The small animated clips are then published on YouTube, and that is where the line goes for the tall gentleman in the faith community. 3 years ago, the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society hired one of America's best law firms and sued McFree. First, they demanded that YouTube's owner, Google, remove content they believed violated copyright law regarding the faith community's self-produced material. The law firm hired by Jehovah's Witnesses is considered to be one of the best in copyright law in the United States. How much Watchtower has to shell out for the top lawyers from, okay, here we go, Cohen, Leibowitz, Latman, is not known. Kevin McFree, for his part, is represented by lawyer Malcolm Seymour, former campaign lawyer for Bernie Sanders. Seymour has taken the case so-called pro bono, which means that he works for free for McFree. This is about freedom of expression and freedom of the press as enshrined in the U.S. Constitution. It is a First Amendment case, Seymour says, to, okay, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce this word. On
what
the
word?
phone, how is that word pronounced?
What?
This highlighted word here. Federlandsvennen?
Federlandsvennen, yeah.
Okay.
It's the name of the newspaper. It literally means friend of the fatherland. Federlandsvennen.
Okay. So he says to the newspaper on the phone from New York, Malcolm Seymour believes the material McFree has used is well within the limits of what is legal use. Among other things, the law allows for the use of parts of published material in facsimiles or the like, so-called fair use. Google chose to remove some of the videos they thought were borderline, but when Jehovah's Witnesses also demanded that they reveal the YouTuber's true identity, Google said no. They would await a possible judicial decision in relation to the right to remain anonymous. What is at stake here is whether a person can freely criticize a religious community and still remain anonymous, Seymour says. The lawyer believes that it will have major consequences, not just financial, if this identity is revealed to Jehovah's Witnesses. McFree should be free to make parodies of the religious community's practice without risk to themselves. In Jehovah's Witnesses, there will obviously be a great risk of being rejected or shunned.
Disfellowshipped.
Yeah.
Rejected, disfellowshipped.
Okay. Jehovah's Witnesses do not want to answer the Friend of the Fatherland's questions about the legal pursuit of McFree. Associate Attorney Paul D. Polidoro, Jehovah's Witnesses' own representative in the lawsuits, responds in an email. Thank you for your interest in this matter. As the case is being processed in court, our court documents will speak for themselves.
I guess the guy who wrote that sentence thought he was really smart.
Oh yeah. They speak for themselves.
We don't refuse to answer. We're actually answering your question.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for your interest.
It just like, you know, whenever you get in touch with customer service and something, thank you so much for getting in contact. We care about your feedback. Oh man.
Yeah, but they could just say no comment. That would be much better than this, because they're just making a fool out of themselves.
Yeah.
Thanks for your what was it in English? Can you repeat it?
Thank you for your interest in this matter. As the case is being processed in court, our court documents will speak for themselves. Yeah, your lawyer.
It's not like Jehovah's Witnesses are timid and don't want to speak to other people.
Mm-hmm. No,
it's not like it's an organization known for their vow of silence.
Mm-hmm. Continuing on in the article. Now you've thrown me off. The court documents state that Jehovah's Witnesses believe that McFree has violated copyright law by using pieces of the religious community's self-produced material, that they demand compensation for what he must have earned from the use, and that his identity must be disclosed. Precisely the right to remain anonymous is the main ingredient in Malcolm Seymour's defense of McFree. Ironically, Watchtower itself used this argument in a lawsuit 20 years ago, Seymour said. At the time, Watchtower won in a case in the Supreme Court where the right to remain anonymous was at stake. A small town in Ohio required Jehovah's Witnesses to register and carry nameplates as they went door to door to preach. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled that Jehovah's Witnesses had the right to remain anonymous when talking about their own faith. This Supreme Court decision is important, and I think it is correct, says Seymour. But as a result, individuals should also be allowed to remain anonymous when criticizing or parodying. And that's the end of the article.
Yeah. Yeah, it's some more here. It says that. Don't you have the rest? Okay.
That's the rest.
Sorry, I didn't send you the rest. So it says here that first they thought this case would be just 1 year, but now it's been 3 years. And then he never met his client physically, but he liked the guy and realized why it's important for him to be anonymous. And it says he's probably British because his video shows that he's a typical British sense of humor. And then he says, yeah, that's the funny thing. Seymour have big faith that they will win if the case came to court in front of a judge. But Watchtower is not happy with only one case. They start another one. Now for violation of copyrights. And now it's the funny thing, because the problem for Jehovah's Witnesses is that this lawyer does not represent him in the new case. So he's under no obligation to serve Kevin McFree. So Watchtower sued him, but they can't serve him.
Oh man. This is really fascinating. Like in your introduction, you talked about.
Sorry, it's just fun. It says here. Okay, so it's better in Norwegian. Sorry for interrupting you, but it says that Jehovah's Witness crazy hunt for the comedian will continue into eternity. It's a religious joke. It's better in Norwegian. Sorry for interrupting you.
My hat, if I was wearing one, would go off to that newspaper right there for that one. That's great. That's fantastic. Yeah. I like it.
But
eternity.
You know, SLAPP lawsuits is a threat to the freedom of speech.
Mm-hmm.
So I think to all of you Americans and most likely British that watch this, you should also get these articles. Any organization, you know, if imagine if McDonald's, I'm just using McDonald's as a, or I can say IKEA, more neutral. I'm Swedish, so I mentioned IKEA. If IKEA would sue me, if I would criticize IKEA for something, and their response would be to intimidation through SLAPP suits, so they would sue me once a day for the rest of my life, just to make me miserable, Having the right to go to court, access to court, is a human right, but also your human right should not be used to violate human right.
Yeah.
So I think when organizations like IKEA or Disney, or, so I'm not saying IKEA do it, that's, you understand the point, but when some big organization does it, like in this case Watchtower, they should be named and shamed.
Yep. This has become...
And also, what if you were a Jehovah's Witness and you see this video now and notice, okay, so that's apostasy, and it's actually funny and it's harmless, and that's why they're selling the Kingdom Halls, to spend money on expensive lawyers to make sure that no one plays, apostates don't play with Legos. How let me know in the comment section, how would you react if you were a witness? Because all of us donated money, so it's my donated money they are using to this for these lawyers.
I mean, you remember in May 2015, the infamous JW Broadcasting, Lloyd talked about it on his channel a bit too, of it was Stephen Lett talking about all of the more money going out that is coming in.
Yeah.
And he talked about how it's like for the colossal kingdom work. I haven't done that impersonation in a little while, but this kingdom work that they are cutting back on by not printing any literature, doing everything digitally. So therefore, like, it's not like the printing costs are high or anything. This is all the lawyers are cleaning house, really. Like, all of this money that's being donated, it's going towards funding lawsuits and like funding frivolous lawsuits that they want to bring up and settling for actual substantive lawsuits that are coming against them. What kingdom preaching work? It's not like Watchtower is even buying the postage for people to write the letters that they're sending out. Like, I received mine earlier this week, with a little folded tract in it and everything. It's not like Watchtower is buying the stamps or the envelopes or the paper for people to write the letters. So what is it like?
How long can they go people must be really tired of the paper writing thing, unless it just turned into a religious duty, like the Amish are wearing weird stuff and we write the letters. But you have to at one point turn off the mental thing if they're going to keep on doing the paperwork. Sorry, that was it's obviously it's a printing company that goes from the world's biggest printing company to writing with a pen and a pencil, one at a time.
Mm-hmm. There's a real irony in that. I feel like
it's the biggest printing company in the world, according to themselves. And then all of a sudden, no, you have to have a pencil. So you have to write it. And then you're not allowed to use a copier to make copies for the neighbors. So you have to, it's just about wasting time. So they can turn it into now they probably say, well, it's the last days of the last days. And we're... Anyway, what do you think about this? Let me know in the comment section. So this is scripture from Philippians 4 and 5. I don't really believe in the Bible, but I used to. And this is one of the scriptures that woke me up. It says, let your reasonableness become known to all men. And I just realized that no one will ever, when you're in the field service and you knock at the door and they open the door, have someone ever said, oh, you're Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't know so much about you, except that you're very reasonable. Have you ever heard that?
Said nobody ever.
That was one of the things that woke me up. I realized something's really wrong, because according to this scripture, one of the defining marks of Christian people is that they should be known for let your reasonableness become known to all men. So people, basically what should happen is a ding dong, let's open a door. Oh, the reasonable people. If your kid needs a blood transfusion, you're reasonable. If someone were to leave the religion, you're reasonable. You're famous for that. You know. It was actually one of the, but if you look at the side notes here, and it said reasonableness, it says the Greek word rendered reasonableness is broad in meaning, conveying the idea of being yielding, courteous, or tolerant. This quality involves not insisting on carrying out the letter of the law or demanding one's rights, but being willing to adapt on existing circumstances. Would you say we should write this down and send it to Watchtower?
I have another reference from their library, which I find interesting. Maybe this is old light that has gone stale, but from the 1994 August 1st Watchtower, page 15, they have an entire study article called "Cultivate Reasonableness," which is based upon the very scripture that you're sharing. Yeah, like, and the very first subheading is entitled "Ready to Forgive." So where's the readiness? Like, I don't see it. Flexibility in the face of changing circumstances is the second subheading, and my absolute favorite, reasonableness in the exercise of authority. Well, granted, Watchtower, anybody that makes something original, they own the copyright on it, right? Like, so there is an authority there, but reasonableness, I mean, it's a work of parody. That's protected under the law. And it's so obviously parody at the same time as being a bit of criticism. Those are allowed. Those are absolutely protected. Like, but let your reasonableness
I can just read some more here.
Yeah.
It says, a reasonable person strive to be considerate and gentle. This quality of a Christian should become known to all men. That is also to those outside the Christian congregation. One Bible translation rendered the first part of the verse, have a reputation for being reasonable. Do Jehovah's Witnesses have a reputation for being reasonable? Jehovah's Witnesses have a reputation for being unreasonable, and I think this lawsuit proves it. But now the funny thing is, if you look here, so this is Watchtower literature, it says, one Bible translation rendered the first part of the verse, have a reputation for being reasonable. So someone translated the Bible a certain way, and Watchtower quote that. And they don't give him credit, they just say one Bible translation. So that person, if we apply the logic of Watchtower, could sue Watchtower for copyright. Isn't that a little bit hypocrisy? Because you're not supposed to, you can use for fair use, for criticism and parody and all these things. But you should, but I don't think they do that here. I don't know, I'm not a lawyer. But anyway, they don't apply the same standard to themselves. I'm pretty sure the guy who put years and years and years of his life to translate the Bible would at least expect to be acknowledged, like, this is Goat-like's translation, and it goes like this.
and without permission. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that is, it's the very basis upon which, like, research work is done. Like, you're supposed to cite all of your sources. I mean, just look at any page on Wikipedia. They have the sources down at the bottom to prove the veracity of it. But like, if you're in university, you have to cite all of your sources and give proper attribution to those sources. I don't ever see that I don't see a bibliography on the last page of any Watchtower publication.
Yeah. So Watchtower, they claim that we were Jehovah's Witnesses baptized children. So I was a child and I was baptized. And Watchtower say that is like a legally binding contract and blah, blah, blah. Well, then it would be possible for me to argue in court that this here about reasonable is a part of that contract, because when you argue in court, you can basically argue anything, because you have the law, but the law is not like abundant in, it doesn't cover everything. And then you have doctrines and principles and all these things, and it take common sense is something a term you can use in court and so on. So when there would be a contract between me and Watchtower, well, then I could easily argue that this shows the way the contract should be understood, because they claim that everything we do is based on the Bible. So when they tell me that everything is based on the Bible, I have the Bible, but I do not have the Elders book, then legally it's really easy to argue that this is more important than the Elders book. Just mentioning that. If someone have a case, you can tell the judge that Goat-like said so.
Because Goat-like said so.
Yep.
No. I have another thought. Like as much as I hate going into the Bible, there was another scripture, like when I first heard about this lawsuit, that really popped into my mind, and I thought, like, come on. I've got it up on my screen here. It is in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 7. Turn in your Bibles, brothers and sisters. So we were always taught that just to give a little bit of background, apparently in the ancient Corinthian congregation, you had the brothers who were all suing each other, bringing cases against each other, like to the local magistrates or the courts or whatever. So Paul wrote them about this in chapter 6, verse 7, and he said here, I hope it's coming through clearly. He said, really, it is already a defeat for you when you have lawsuits with one another. But the really key thing here, why not rather let yourselves be wronged? Why do you not rather let yourselves be defrauded? Instead, you wrong and defraud, and your brothers at that. So if Watchtower really has any kind of cause for complaint here under so-called copyright law and so on and so forth, well, basically what their so-called higher than human Bible standards are saying is like, look, even if you have been defrauded, and that's a big if, then why are you fighting it? Why not just let it happen? Like, they're not paying attention to what their own Bible, and this is their website, their translation. Why not rather let yourselves be wronged? You would think that this would work into their whole persecution complex. Oh no, somebody's criticizing us. Well, yay. I mean, didn't they always say that Jesus said, like, you should be happy when people speak badly of you? Well, Kevin McFree, and really like any apostate that speaks out against Watchtower, is, offering criticism and exposure that they don't like. Oh, boo-hoo. But according to their own doctrine, they should be overjoyed and thrilled at this. This is, yay, it's actual persecution. Look at us. Like, you see what we were telling you all along? But no, they want to go and fight it in court, just like any other big bullyish corporation would do. So what separates them from the world? They're behaving exactly like the world that they say that they're separate from.
Yeah. So I'm trying to find I had it, but I forgot it. It's kind of difficult to find, but I think it was in 2002. There was Supreme Court ruling in, I think it was the state of Ohio, that Jehovah's Witnesses do not have to identify themselves when they go from door to door. And so there were some places where the police said, in order to go from door to door, you need to identify yourself. And I would say that that's not unreasonable. The police they're allowed to, they have a job to do. They're just not allowed to be unreasonable. So if someone goes from door to door knocking at doors, I would not say that's unreasonable. I would not take it to the Supreme Court, but Watchtower did, probably because, I don't know, and they won. So basically what they argue then is that the right to being, what do you say, anonymous? I hate that word.
Anonymous?
Anonymous, yeah. I'm tired. So the right they argue in Supreme Court, the right to be anonymous. But think about it. As a person living in a house and people going knocking at my doors, I don't think it's unreasonable that someone that walks around in my garden and trespassing and everything leave their name with the police because it's no hindering. They are allowed to do it. But so I think it would be absolutely fair that a city decide that if you want to go knocking at door in our city, you have to leave your name and address. So in something happen, we know who you are and so on. I think that's reasonable. But Watchtower took it to court. And just an extra layer of that, Jehovah's Witnesses or Watchtower have got a reputation of protecting pedophiles. So if you put those two things together, I don't think that it was their intention. Absolutely not. I think most Jehovah's Witnesses are nice people. But this is just the perfect storm. The organization that do not report pedophiles to the police is the same organization that send their members from door to door and take it to the Supreme Court that they should not identify, leave their name and address. Well, maybe. I like to think nice things about people, but worst case scenario, if we go a little conspiracy theory, maybe the reason why they took it to court was because there was a lot of pedophiles in that congregation. And if you go and say, hello, I'm the guy that was convicted once, 2, 3 times before I converted to Jehovah's Witnesses, maybe that was the... Okay, I hate conspiracy theories, but...
That'd be an awkward conversation, to say the very least.
It could be an awkward conversation, and it could be Watchtower lawyers say... There could be... It's possible that there was a... Okay, I'm not a lawyer, but I can imagine that was situations where a brother said, I can't do this because then I will not be allowed to do this. And then Watchtower say, we will step in. I don't know.
This is definitely Watchtower wanting to eat their cake and have it too. I mean, just, wanting to have it both ways. Par for the course, really.
Yeah, because they went to... Let's forget about this child thing, but still they went... In what case would you need the name of a person? In what situation would that be reasonable? When someone knocks at your front door, or when someone makes videos with Lego?
Mm-hmm.
Which situation would a normal person feel threatened or worried about your children? If you go to a job and you maybe have to leave your kids unattended for an hour and people are walking from door to door, and they say it's an important point that no one knows my identity. Yeah, and Watchtower say, yes, that is freedom of this and freedom of that and constitution this, constitution that. Isn't... Yeah, well, I think you get my point.
Yeah. It is really, really bizarre. I mean, I'm so struck for the sheer irony of it all. I mean, just as a start, like just the irony of it that, they talk about like, well, like you're not allowed to criticize us, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that, and yet their literature is full of all kinds of criticisms and everything else of, let's just point fingers at the Catholic Church, for example. So, I mean, let's just take this to like perhaps like an interesting logical conclusion. Let's just say for a moment that Watchtower wins this case and Kevin's true identity is forced to be revealed. What this should mean then is that the Catholic Church should be allowed to find out the names of anybody who's written those articles that criticize them or made fun of them or whatever else, and bring them to like the same sort of punishment, right? Think about the reasoning from the Scriptures book. How much did it quote from the Catholic Encyclopedia? Well, isn't that copyright infringement?
No, it's not.
But because it's different, right? Like
no, because they have double standards. But basically,
exactly. But this is the standard that they are. This is the standard that they're stupidly opening the door to. And honestly, like, okay, let's just say they get their hands on Kevin's actual identity and they find out where he lives and whatnot. Well, then, like, how are you? Like, it just becomes even more like Scientology. And you picture poor Kevin walking down the street and here's Jehovah's Witnesses just standing there filming him like people in Scientology do for people that have left. Like, hi. Like, there's no need for it. And that's just what makes this that much more sinister, in my opinion. Like, it's ridiculous, but it also becomes a very sinister kind of intimidating behavior that,
yeah, but
like,
that's why it's important to name and shame them. And that's why I'm happy the Norwegian newspaper did it. But I think all the American activists should try to get some light on this. So here in Norway, they get the government funding. And okay, so Americans are famous for being extremely legalistic. It's the land of the lawyer. It's not the land of the free. It's the land of the lawyer. And we joke about that. But SLAPP Suits, and the reason why I say it is governing body, they are American, basically. They think like Americans. But when they do stuff like this here and the rest of the world, it doesn't sound as good as it sounds in America. Oh, we have a legal formality to ruin people's life, and we're going to use that. In Scandinavia, everything is based much more on common sense. So, like, a judge will look at stuff. Well, the legal formality is in place, but common sense, and they will just throw you out in court. Much more so. It's in our culture.
Here in Canada, it can be a little bit hit and miss, sadly, but truly.
Well, nothing's perfect here. That's not my point. But the point is, if they try stuff like this here, well, I'm already working on trying to get them to lose the government funding, but they would just make it easier for me. Because it is a threat for freedom of speech. This is
I think one of the best things that people can do, this works for other organizations as well. Like, this works against other big businesses. This kind of thing, if it blows up on Twitter, if you get a lot of public backlash against an organization for something like this, I mean, if there's one rule on today's internet, it's you do not piss off Twitter. Well, this is like one of those perfect things to get trending on Twitter and like get a conversation going that's super public, that the more people, whether they're ex-witnesses or not, the more people that know about it, like, look, this organization is trying to use copyright law to take away a person's freedom of speech. They could come for you next. or
Yeah.
their chicanery can open up the door for that organization to come for you next. Are you going to stand for that? I would hope not. Like,
Yeah.
blow it up on Twitter. We need to come up with a really awesome hashtag.
Yeah. No, but so one thing we can do. Hello, all the activists out there. You can help me. I'm gonna make a video about it later. Maybe have some jokes about it. But the thing is, every time I talk to a journalist, they ask me, "Do you have any pictures we can use?" And in most cases, I have to say no, because I didn't take any pictures of me when I was a Jehovah's Witness, and now I don't look like a Jehovah's Witness anymore, and stuff like that. But they don't have pictures, and they can use an Armageddon picture or a Paradise picture from the literature if they're kind of criticizing that, but they can't just take a picture of people standing by a cart and use in there. So that's actually a problem. I have to come up with pictures of me holding a goat and trying to fit in actually, I've been in the newspaper with like Jehovah's Witness, and then there's a picture of me and a goat. So what I've been thinking, please bear with me. So I can show you this. So this is a web page called Pixels, and it's like you can put in pictures there that you own. That's very important. You own, and you have, but that people can use it. So if someone wanted to use, well, this picture, they can use that. They have to give them credit and so on, but they can use it for free. I didn't read the special thing. So let's say a journalist wanted to write something about sign Norway. Yeah, this is Norway. And you get a lot of pictures here. It's a typical Norwegian house. But how do I do this? But let's say I want to, they want to write something about Jehovah's Witnesses. There's nothing. So my point is, we should fill this up. Because if you could help me with that, you would do me a huge favor, because I'm a busy man, and every time you talk to a journalist, and then it's like, okay, so wrap this up, and then it's like 1 hour extra work trying to find a picture to give them. So when the journalists want to have pictures of Jehovah's Witnesses, and they can't take stuff from the literature, sometimes they use like a picture of a crowd of people, because then if you can't single someone out, that's okay. But it would be an easy way to support activism. So, and you can have some fun. So if you still have your old field service thing and some literature and ugly suit, we shouldn't make fun of them, but ugly suit, that there's no other way of saying it. So especially if you are in the process of leaving, please take pictures. You can decide later what to do with it. But if you have some pictures of you and your wife or your spouse at the cart, and you're standing there like witnesses, and you take picture, and then you have a written statement from your spouse and from you that this is okay to use, and you post it here, free to use, well, then you made me a favor, and you'll be famous in many countries. And you can also, I was thinking of that just for fun. Let's say you're standing with a cart, and you take a picture, like respectful. You don't want to make fun of the witnesses as individuals. So, but you put a cart and you stand there respectful. But then instead of jw.org, you Photoshop it. So you say jwfacts.com. So whenever there's a newspaper, and it's like, oh, there's a newspaper, I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to. Oh no. Oh no. I have a lot of ideas, but we should really have a #GoatLikes photo challenge and fill up pixels with Jehovah Witness pictures as much as possible.
That hashtag again, #GoatLikes photo challenge.
Yeah,
I like
for
it.
instance, that was just from the top of my bald head.
That's a good one. Like, I think that's great.
Yeah.
With all of the kingdom halls sitting empty right now, just kind of go and stand in front of one and just do a gesture. Click.
Yeah.
Right?
I think if you're an apostate, you should really I'm not a lawyer, but I think in America you are allowed to photograph everything when you're standing on public land. So if you're standing on the sidewalk in America, then it would be covered by the First Amendment to take a picture of a building, even if you would see through the windows inside, unless it's a bathroom. So use common sense. But you're basically same photograph inside the car. When you're in a vehicle and you have windows, you have no expectation of privacy. So when Watchtower built a Kingdom Hall with windows close to public street, they have no privacy. So even if someone would be inside the building, it's not illegal to take a photograph. But then again, if there's a person, you need his permit to put it out here. But I'm not a lawyer, but I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. If you're on public land in the United States of America and you're taking pictures of a building that's visible, you should be allowed to. Okay, never mind. I'm tired and I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving legal advice.
#not legal advice.
#goat farmer, not a lawyer. So let's see. Is there some messages here before we go to bed? Dress up like in the old days. Draw up name cards and take pics. That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as long as you're the one on the picture, that's really nothing they can do, I think. So it has also, it helps me talking to journalists. It helps the journalists, and everything takes time. So just being able to go online and get a free picture, it makes it a bigger chance that some things will happen. So
some of these people that mentioned that they have pictures like inside of kingdom halls and so on, that might be a bit of a dangerous sort of gray area because you are now inside of a private building. But I don't know if you're able to Photoshop it and blur people's faces, then I guess they're not identifiable. But that also kind of kills the photo for the journalist to use. But
no,
above all, like, be careful with this.
Okay, so yet again, I'm not giving legal advice, but I'm just spitballing here. If it would be you and me, and both of us has signed a statement, and then everyone in the background is blurred out, I can't see any legal problems with that, as long as there's no because it's a Jehovah's Witness. It's a public meeting, so then you don't have expectation of privacy. Yeah. If you go to let's say we have an orgy, and you take pictures of people and you and me in the background and they blur our faces, it's still a breach of privacy because we had an expectation of privacy. Yeah. The law works with the expectation of privacy. So now I think use common sense and read the thing on this if you want to do it. But it would be fun, and we can make some funny pictures.
Yep.
And also, Ephraim Helney. So what's the verdict for today? Watchtower, yay or nay? Are they reasonable? No. So let's just give a call. Let's give a shout out to Foster Garvey. That's the lawyers that do, according to this, a lot of pro bono. So big shout out to them. Thank you.
Big thumbs up.
Yeah. So thank you for this live stream. Thank you for supporting the channel, and please share the video, because sharing this video is a way of supporting freedom of speech, but also our dear brother Kevin. So just post this, see if there's something funny here.
Blow it up on Twitter, everybody, as much as possible. Make a big loud noise.
Yeah. So this is everything from GoatLike, because it's 5:24 a.m. here and it's time for me to go to bed. So see you in paradise.